start.
Okay.
I think good number amount of
Yeah,
students are there, and they are still joining. We can
yeah,
start.
yeah. Please go ahead, Samriti.
Okay, Simriti, please.
Entrepreneurs are the backbone of organizations, and having a sustainable knowledge on this matter indeed ensure your growth. Keeping in this view, hello and good evening everyone present here. I'm deeply honored and delighted to be here today to extend a warm welcome to all of you on the behalf of Department Commerce. I would like to extend a special welcome to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Vinay Chabra sir, and faculty members, TIC ma'am, and all the dear students present here. Preeti ma'am, please continue.
Please, you continue. I had that chat with him, Vineet. You can just start because formal introduction, if they want to give, they can. Otherwise, I wanted you to give you more time rather than we speaking. So, so we welcome you all, and especially Vineet. So nice. I am waiting. We are waiting eagerly to hear you, Vineet. Okay.
Sure, thank you. Good evening and happy Gurpurab, everyone.
You too.
So, I think, like I was telling Preeti, that it's though I'll give a background of myself, right? Because it'll probably give you a better sense of who I am, so that the questions that you ask can be, more meaningful and relevant for you all. But this session's for you. Okay, it's not about me, right? My train is gone. Okay, you guys are the ones who are preparing that you go by train or by air or you're going to run. So it's about you. So I'll keep mine brief, but trust me, I have the bad habit of talking a lot. Okay, so you'll have to keep coming and interjecting to say, "Sir, मेरे को अब और पूछना है." Otherwise, I might speak more than I need to. Uh, I'm a Delhi person, right? So I have done all my education in Delhi, right? I was also in Delhi University. Unfortunately, for 1 year only, I was in SRCC. And the reason I'm saying unfortunately, because I missed the college life you guys are doing. But I left and I joined Pricewaterhouse for CA, right? Mine at that time in 1985 was the last batch that was allowed to do CA as an undergrad. सो वो मैंने करा, तुक्के से पास हो गए, तो फिर हमको आई स्टार्टेड प्राइस वाटर एंड देन आई डिड माय अकाउंटिंग एंड माय बीकॉम for Delhi University concurrently, and I kind of cleared. But I want to tell you a little couple of things before that, which were important in my journey, and I think those are the things that I've carried with me, and I think it's things that I want to tell you are not what I've achieved, but the things that I didn't achieve, right? And I think that's more important because when you are at my age, everybody's performance looks very good, okay? But when you're at your age, you want your performance to be there, but you don't know how. So we'll talk a lot about the how and what is it that we can do. But let me come back to my school years. So I'm a sporty guy, right? So I've played all kinds of sports. Not a very tall person, so I never played basketball. But other than that, koi bhi kuch bhi khila lo, and I was there. So in class 9, I remember uh, I had flunked in 4 subjects out of 10 in one of my term exams. Okay. And my father came for the PTM, like each one of us, father comes, and I'm walking back after the PTM, which was quite depressing and humiliating, I would imagine. And my chin was literally reaching my knees because I was so embarrassed that my dad had to go through all this. And then we reached the car, and my dad gave me a kiss on my forehead and gave me some money and said, "Just eat ice cream and we won't talk about it at home." Okay. So he says, "It's okay. We'll just finish it." When I walked back, ice cream to kya khai maine, but I think that was the sweetest kind of a switch in my life that got switched on. I said, I think this man deserved more from me, right? He believed in me. He knew कि वो fail हो रहा है तो हो रहा है यार, ये unit है, but he's got far more capability than this paper is showing me, right? He did not take it out on me. On the contrary, he said, हम घर में भी नहीं बात करेंगे. so that I have mother and brother, and फिर सारे मतलब it becomes a topic कि क्या 4 सब्जेक्ट में फेल हो गया, right? I decided कि भाई अब ना जरा I need to do more for this person. So that was my turnaround, right? Uh, Needless to say, I mean, I took a call that I'll make my father proud for for especially academics and everything else, and I did. So that's also one of the reasons that I left SRCC after year one, which was my dream, right? I mean, let's be honest, मैं भी commerce student हूँ. For a commerce student or in school, your dream is SRCC commerce, right? So I missed my मेरिट लिस्ट ऑफ द कंट्री बाय लिटिल. वो सब छोड़ो, वो इरेलीवेंट चीजें हैं. रेलेवेंट चीज क्या होती है कि मेरे में देयर वाज समथिंग दैट somebody saw in you which at that time I didn't. Number one. Number two, the other important part is जो हमारे लाइफ के गोल्स होते हैं वो बदलते रहते हैं, राइट? सो फर्स्ट आई थॉट SRCC इज द ड्रीम, एंड अब मैंने रियलाइज करा कि 1 साल में ही मैंने छोड़ दिया, you know. I mean, now, so why would you do that, right? Because I realized that the dream had actually changed to say, how can I do more than that, right? Within the same timelines. So within those 2-3 years, I did my CA as well as my BCom. So I saved time, right? So the other message that you guys want to take is, Kibi, how can you compress learning in time? Most of us let it stretch. At your age, we are distracted. We just keep letting it stretch. We need to train ourselves to compress it, right? I did not do it out of wisdom. Let me be very clear about it. ये नहीं है कि हम ज्ञानी थे उस टाइम पे कि हमने, no. Let me be frank. At that time, I was exactly the way you are, enjoying life, right, and having fun. But there are some decisions I took. I don't know what made me take decisions. ठीक है, वो सब अब मेरे को नहीं पता. But you need to ask yourself, what are the triggers for your decision making? That's the point I'm coming to, right? So you took a call, and I realized I compressed 2-3 years of my life. So I was suddenly ahead of the curve. So now when you look at class 9, I was in the last 3 of my class, and now suddenly after X number of years, I'm actually ahead of the guys who were ahead of me, you know, and it's not planned. So let me be very, very good. It's not planned. Huh? So then we kept on carrying on, and I joined the corporate life. Uh, the day after I qualified, right? So I qualified on Friday, the 13th, 1989. I'm also telling you that because all those who are superstitious, Friday the 13th doesn't mean anything. My lucky days were always Friday the 13th. Okay? So, and then I went and met my dad the next morning, and I said, here is a business plan. So next morning means a few days later. And so the business plan was, guess what? Making shirts, right? तो ये रहा बंदा जिसने सीए करी, प्राइस वाटर हाउस में फर्स्ट में अपना सारा निकल गया, and and here I am trying to say, and what's the message I'm giving? I was exhausted. I was exhausted with studying, right? The term that we use over the years now is burnout. I was burnt out. The last thing I want to do is come close to academics. So I went to the furthest point from academics is to say मैं कमीज़ें बनाऊँ, Now you guys don't really realize, but that was actually a potential market business at that time. When we were growing up, we never had ready-made shirts. Huh? So it might appear what a silly idea. At that time, ready-made shirts was unique, So but the point I'm coming to is that you actually tend to run away when you are done with too much of something, right? So I needed a break, and I needed a break from accounting, finance, and that rigor. So I joined a company. I joined what you call the Thapar Group, and I moved away from accounting and finance, and I did a general kind of an executive assistance role. Not kind of, I was an executive assistant to Mr. Thapar, and then I did my journey. I won't go into all parts of the journey because that's not relevant. Huh? But all I can tell you is that I'm very privileged, right, and grateful for all the opportunities I got, right. But there are two, three pieces which are important, which you should know. I had the opportunity of being, say, a CEO of a large company, right, in the group. I took the decision to become the CEO of the smallest company, right? Now, the truth is, and that's what brought me to Bangalore. And the reason I took that is because I could believe I can make a difference in that business. You know, there is there was that connect. You could feel the connect. Whereas the large one was an engineering company where we're making engines for three wheelers. I don't understand that, right? So the glamour, the salary, the designation, all that would have been much nicer in the other one. But I went for something which I felt there was a connect that I can contribute and make a difference. And frankly, when I look back, I contributed and made a difference, right? So this is a little about this thing. I can keep going on, but I think I'll let me open up for any questions, Preeti and everybody. Please feel free. We'll be interactive as we go, or you want to be interactive in the end. It's your call, but don't be formal with me. We'll do it. We'll just have fun on a good Puram. Na? You don't have to be serious.
Yeah, please. Anybody wants to ask any question can go ahead, or they can put the question in the chat box, so which we can take up. So it's up to you how you want. You can directly interact with Vineet.
Yeah,
He's very friendly, and I remember the last time we met Vineet. I don't know whether you remember it or not. You
uh,
had gone in for a diet plan for a week.
yeah. Eating, yeah. You know, I know people who lost five kilos. Yeah.
I
So
know, but you did. That's what the last thing I remember about you.
that's a long time. Okay, ladies, any questions? I can build on the story, otherwise, I can carry on.
So we would like to hear you first. Your
Okay.
beautiful journey.
ठीक है जी. So this company brought me here, and I came into Bangalore, right? And we came into Bangalore. My mother's still in Delhi. I told her मैं 2 साल में वापस आ जाऊंगा. It was my first real job outside Delhi, though I used to travel a lot even at that time. And the family, that's my wife and kids, we all flew into Bangalore. And since then, Bangalore's been a home actually. So it's 21 years. Now, the journey that I did in Bangalore was awesome, right? It used to be an agri company, food processing company, very small, and I still remember uh, the older Mr. L.M. Thapar of the group telling me, "Vineet, one day this can be 100 crore business." 100 crores in those days was quite a lot, and especially in the space that you're in. And I converted it to 100 crores in 2 years' time. To cut a long story short, we had a very successful stint. I grew that company 40% CAGR over 9 years. And by the time I finished, it was, $150 million. We did acquisitions in Europe, and I used to travel like a mad guy. Uh, and by the end, it just, one more time, it burnt me. Pale, the education did it. Now this journey of actually travel, and it's the agri business is a very volatile business. It's not, it's a very it's dependent on the weather and the climatic conditions in all the countries that you're operating in, right? And if you are in the global business, then you're also talking about oil on one side and the foreign exchange fluctuations on the other. So I won't go into other complexities, but these three big ones are all the time. There are too many balls in the air you're trying to manage, right? At an entrepreneurial level or at a leadership level is great fun because there's so much happening. But let's be frank, after some time, it burns you out. So then I realized that that's done, I've done what I had to. Uh, there's one thing I want to say about that role is the beauty of that role was that I used to work with marginal farmers in India, so we used to work at that time, concept of contract farming. We had 26,000 farmers in 3 states in South India. And we used to work with the world's largest retailers on the other side, right? So the Walmart, the Safeway, the Tesco, all the names that you've heard, they were all our direct customers. So the experience was hugely satisfying, because on one side you're dealing with farmers who are so poor, and on the other hand you're talking to organizations which are so large, and so it humbled you both ways, and so it used to be a great story. A lot was written about our success in lot of media, whether it was international or domestic, because you were doing good for the farmer, right? So the best way to make money is when others benefit from it.
So what
So that's
exactly were you doing, Vineet? Like what
so
exactly the company was doing? And there's one question I think somebody has raised a question.
okay.
Yes,
So
sir, how did you manage your time with BCom and CA?
So BCom and CA, actually, if you look at it, they are. Uh, if you're doing CA, then BCom is an integral part of it. If you know what I mean, it's like a
Definitely,
sub. It's a subset of the larger story. So
yes, sir.
you're only doing more than less. So they were not two different lines. That's one. Second, uh, we had to work hard. Let's be
Yes,
honest.
sir.
I mean,
So actually, I'm pursuing CAT with my BCom honors, so I really face a difficulty to manage time and all the stuff.
एंड पता है क्या है, सुबह 6 बजे उठ के हम, मेरे पास तो टू व्हीलर भी नहीं होता था, या होता था उस टाइम पे, हम जाते थे ट्यूशन पे, यू नो
No.
किसी के साथ, किसी की अकाउंटिंग और फाइनेंस, फर्स्ट यू वेंट अर्ली मॉर्निंग फॉर ट्यूशन, देन केम होम, एंड देन यू वेंट फॉर प्राइस वाटर हाउस वेर एवर द ऑडिट वॉज हैपनिंग, then you came back home in the evening, and then you did study for whatever you had to. But let me tell you something. It might sound that, oh, poor guy, he worked very hard. Let me tell you, I partied a lot, right? So I
Oh,
partied a huge amount when we were in Price Water. Actually, we were the youngsters who came in, so because we were the undergrads. So all the others before us were grads. And we were in the first year ke baad, aur wo log, so they were there different 3 years between us. So they treated us like kids. And we loved it, because then we had a lot of fun in Price Water. So to your point, worked very hard. Okay, honestly, very hard. But partied well and happy also. So, it kind of, life was good.
So
thank
I
you, sir.
can tell you, sorry, I am interrupting you. Samriddhi, the difference that time was we had annual mode and the load wasn't much. Now, Vineet, they have 7 papers in one semester. So the
Oh my God.
workload has like gone up so much,
Yeah,
and we used to
yeah.
study 4 papers in annual mode.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
plus social media and all these
Yeah.
things were
And the
not there.
distractions, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
distractions weren't there.
We didn't have distractions like this. Yeah, yeah. No, it's very true. And listen, I mean, not only the subjects that you guys have and the intensity, I think the the era's changed. Like you rightly said, the social media is such a bad distraction. Having said that, on the other side, there's also a huge opportunity to use technology well for yourself. You know, I mean, it's really up to you. You want to use the technology to your advantage, or unknowingly to your disadvantage, whichever way. And I think each one of us understands it. It's just the discipline. It's really about your personal discipline, nothing more than that. All of us have the basic intelligence to know what I should be doing. It's about getting ourselves to go and do that. I think that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, Sakshi, you can put up the question.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask that you worked in the shirt making industry for a while after graduating, and then did you switch into agri business from shirt making directly, and then you moved to Bangalore, or was there something else in between?
Yeah, so shirt business I didn't do. I told my father I will do, and he says, "Yeah, you can do," but actually made a kind of a handmade Excel. In those times there was not really Excel, and he made a kind of a template for to me and said, "You figure out what you want to do." It was a very beautiful template, and I do that for my kids too. That in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what is it that you need, and which are the avenues that can you take you there, right? So one of the things that you require, say, or aspirationally, is say money, because let's be honest, at your age, money is number one. ठीक है? fame and status and all that is true. Then you start worrying about relationships. Then you worry about peace of mind, balance of time, life and time, and you whatever 4 5 things that are important to you. You each one of us has to be genuine and authentic about what's important to you, not what looks good. It's only about you, remember that. So I didn't do the shirt thing. I kind of went into the corporate world. As I said, I actually was an executive assistant to Mr. Thapar for 2 years. 92, I joined within the group. It was a very large group, $5 billion group. I joined a small unit uh, out there which used to do leather, polyurethane leather, right? So that was my first experience as a, what we call in the corporate world, as an intrapreneur, right? So I was actually an entrepreneur, but in a corporate environment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, some network issues are there.
The techno
It's your time that you are putting on, but not your risk, your money, right? So an entrepreneur uses resources of a larger group, right? But brings his or her ability, your skill set, your specific knowledge, and your energy and everything else to life, to the vision. But your risk, if I may say, is your career, is your time, right? So I did that. Then I did another small company within the group. Then I did lots of them together in the group. I mean, I was fortunate. I became the youngest general manager, the youngest vice president. वो सब छोड़ो, वो irrelevant नहीं है. Those designations are not relevant. Main thing is I was fortunate. I did small businesses in a large group, right? So
Okay.
which honed my skills to do everything. So what does that mean? What does that entail? It entails that when you're in a smaller setup, right, you are forced to do all functions, right?
Yes.
So let's say from strategy, what to do, or as they taught in Harvard Business School, what not to do, right? So one of the first things each one of us needs to know is कि मैंने करना क्या है पर मैंने क्या नहीं करना है. It's a it's a I think is one of the most important things that each one of us needs to remember, is that process of elimination. What is it that I will not do? Okay. Then you start uh, uh, so then you are involved in the financial part, the quality, the supply chain, the marketing, the sales, and the accountability of the whole thing, right? So it might be a small setup, but your experience is large. Or you can work in a large organization, right? The setup is large, but your experience is small, right?
Yes.
Each one of us needs to take a call of what would I like to do. You want to be a big fish in a small pond, or you want to be a
A
small
small.
fish in a big pond, right? So that is a balance. You remember everything. These decisions don't need to be taken now. They need to be kept at the back of the mind. They evolve. Huh? Keep that in your mind. At your age, you're not supposed to know the answers. So don't say, "Oh, re yaar, mere ko nahi pata." Nobody knows. First, keep that in your mind. You are not supposed to know answers. And why am I saying that? Because you've not started your journey of life. Why should we expect answers from you? You haven't even started. Let's be frank. So how can we expect? You are studying. You're finishing your studies, right? And remember one more thing, in whatever subjects we did, like so I was so sick of accounting and finance that I said I'll move out. Now that was in my blood. When I'm looking at numbers today in a business, or frankly, any the numbers speak to me on their own. So by being an expert or having deep knowledge of a subject, it just it enriches you without you. It's a default of your DNA. I remember I was one day traveling with one of my kids, and we saw a ship, and the ship had a lot of containers. Okay. And so I think I asked my daughter or son, I said, how many containers are there on the ship? So they said, what do you mean? How many containers are there on the ship? You know, what a silly question. So what I was trying to tell them was that it's, you can just by counting the length, breadth, and the height, give a sense of how many containers are there on the ship, right? Now, the point is it came naturally to me to count the number while driving in a car with the ship on the side, right? So the point I'm coming to is that's accounting. I mean, I did so much of numbers that it's a part of my thing. Now, do I use accounting on a daily basis? Answer is no. But I can tell you in my business if I'm making money or no without seeing a paper, right? I that's your experience. You know if you'll do it, if you're doing it right or no. Okay, so you get a whole picture in a smaller business, which actually prepares you for later. Keep that in your mind, right? If you want to do a small vertical in a larger thing, do it well. It will also prepare you differently. So there is no right or wrong. It is your journey, and all journeys are good. Keep that in your mind. All journeys are good as long as they are lawful and they are teaching you something. Okay, so then I did this acquisitions. I think I'll take talk a little about acquisitions. So I was a blue-eyed boy, like you probably got a sense. I went to Harvard Business School, and it was the biggest pride of me and probably my colony. Exaggerated, but oh, and guess what? You go there and you realize that people are so smart. Yeah, you were. So I was that big fish in a small pond. I suddenly went into a large pond with large fish. You know, so anyways, so the first beautiful experience was realizing how little you know. Okay, I think that's the best thing I ever learned was how little I knew. Let's be frank, all of us get a little arrogant. You win a match, you get 100 on 100, you top your class, you whatever you want to say. You won a fashion show, doesn't matter, you feel, oh, okay. And so it's nice to get humbled quickly. So I went and I got humbled quite a few times in my life, by the way, but there also I got. Then we went, and there were such senior people that you and I can't believe that people are really so senior. So I'll give you a sense. We had like the vice admiral of the Australian Navy. We had the number two general of Israel Army in our batch. Just to give you a sense, I'm a small guy, bloody growing gherkins and exporting them, and suddenly you're talking about people who are literally managing a huge part of a country, right, in terms of military and all. So hugely enriching, right? Two few things you learn there. Number one, that uh, however good you are, right, there are still lots of people better than you. Okay, so that's something which we all need to remember. Second is continuous learning, right? Life is a journey. There is no expert on nothing. You are just ahead in the curve of your learning process than the others. So if you are sitting on a holiday and listening to me, it is because you feel that I can tell you something that you don't know, right? But after the X number of years, you'll be doing exactly the same. Probably you'll be doing this within 20 years and not after 35 years. Okay, so don't judge anybody or yourself. So that's my second part, or another lesson I think you need to know. Don't judge. There's no We are all on our different journeys. Okay, everybody is on a different journey. You will get there faster or later. I tell my kids and I've told my teams, life is a curve. You don't know who is sitting on which part of the curve just now, right? You could be here at the curve and you might be about to take off in your career, in your life, or you could be right on top and you could be about to go down. It's like a roller coaster. Or needless to say, you could be anywhere in the middle. So it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to measure or judge anybody where you are today. Okay. Then going forward, I was picked up.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
Preeti.
Vineet. Yeah, Ria, you want to ask something in Arya?
Oh,
Sachi?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I had a small question. Like when you decided you have to move from corporate life to entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
and when you told that to your parents, so what was their reaction about that?
Good question. By the time I took that decision, I was the parent. So just my little thing. So what I was about to complete is that after that I spent 6 years in the spirits business, okay, alcohol business, which is a lovely place to be, right? Because you enjoy making and selling, getting your salary, and then drinking also. So you have, it's something which gives you pleasure, all degrees. In 2016, I left the company I was working with, which is Diageo. Diageo is the largest spirits company in the world, makers of Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, and all that, right? And I started my own thing. So there was a reason why I left, right? So Diageo had acquired a company called United Spirits, which was Vijay Mallya's company. It is the other company of Kingfisher Beer. Huh? So I used to run their international business, and I was setting up businesses in whole of Africa and Asia, and enjoying my journey till we got acquired. And so now, if you look at my journey since 1992 to 2014, 15, I was actually doing my own thing, right? So the way the dice had been rolled for me in my career, I had been given bosses who trusted me. So that's a word we'll delve a little or later. uh, and who gave me complete freedom to do what I wanted to. Okay, so I started enjoying the role because I was the in charge of everything. I was accountable for everything. Right, that's another word you need to talk about. And when Diageo acquired, it was a large organization where they had those systems and processes. Right, so I was an MD, but there were another 24 MDs. Okay, so and then there were presidents above us, and then there was the CEO. So the whole system was different. Huh? So the point I'm coming to is that the decision I took to move on was, it was not as uh, 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 enriching for me and exciting for me, because it was now a large company with systems and processes and not entrepreneurial spirit required anymore. The decision I took, I think my family was happy, right? Because they also had probably realized that he had gotten burnt enough. Uh, I used to travel a lot, okay? In the Global Green, that's the Gherkin days from 2002 to 10, I was traveling probably 15, 20 days a month, all over the world. And here also, I was traveling a lot, little less than the earlier time, but I was out. So uh, I think it's important for me to tell you that from a corporate point of view, or a career point of view, I had ticked all my boxes, right? I was very fortunate. I ticked all my boxes. I wanted to be this and that and this and that. I got everything thanks to God's grace. So I actually then had to move on because need to do something more. Okay, so the decision we took for the entrepreneurial was a decision where I think my family was very happy actually, right? But let me tell you something. Now let's talk about that. Okay, but before that, I want to talk to you about two, three important things that I tell everybody who cares to listen, right? One of them is the power of compounding. Okay, you've been told that. If you haven't, please make a note of this. Okay, when I say power of compounding, it is not just financial compounding. So that you put money in the bank and it's compounding every year and you keep doing it. That's no big deal. Well, unfortunately, most of the world stops talking about compounding after financial, that the interest rate is compounding. Huh? I want to talk about two, three other parts of compounding. One is relationship. Okay. Remember, relationships are very compounding. Okay. If somebody had told me this 35 years back, I think I would have been a far richer person with my relationships. Everything else being aside. Huh? So I think you have an opportunity to say, what are the relationships that matter, right? Build on those and let them compound. You will be surprised, right? So I've got friends naturally whom I play golf with who are 10 years older than before you were born, since I know them. You know what I'm saying? That's the power of compounding. It's not just about relationships. Their friends are my friends. My other friends are their friends. And it goes on. So suddenly, if you look at the circle of influence, right? And the circle of overall networking that grows, it's huge. You won't need it just now, but as you grow in your careers, whatever careers you embark on, that power of networking is going to be huge. So let's call that compounding of relationships, right? The second is basically, I would say, which everybody does, is hard work and integrity, right? I'm not one for excessive hard work. Okay, I think hard work is important, right? Even a three-wheeler guy does hard work, and so does the people who do the mopping and sweeping in our house, right? So hard work is very critical, but correct hard work is what is more critical, right? And I think that is something which you need to harp on and invest your time on. In my eyes, it is important that you work on areas which are of interest to you. Okay, so you wouldn't know that, and don't worry about it. You're at 21, 22. You're not expected to know what is my interest. It's everybody keeps asking you that question, and it's frustrating. Beta kuch batao na, passion kya hai tumhara? I mean, yes, it's some of us have it, right? Like I like playing drums, or I can go and I like this and that, but everybody doesn't really have a passion, you know and but you have interests which you don't know. Please keep that in your mind. You have interests which you don't really know, right? They are not yet been evolved to a level for you to realize that, man, this is something I actually enjoy doing, right? So please explore different activities in your earlier years, right? Give yourself 5 7 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. Don't worry about time. Time is not going anywhere. Okay, give yourself time to try many things. You will be pleasantly surprised that life speaks back to you. You don't have to look for it. It comes back. Answer comes to you. You don't go to the answer. Keep that in your mind. But you need to take the steps. You take the steps, and you'll be pleasantly surprised how you'll get the answer. you know and I think that's an important part, but you got to take the step. So don't do hard work like a fool, but be active. Remember, only action will give you progress. Okay, intent has zero relevance in life, unless you are being tried for murder. Okay, other than intent has zero relevance in life. So don't go for intent, go for action. Okay, and last word in this set of things that I believe I've picked up over my journey is a word called accountability. Okay, be accountable to yourself. There's a lovely book called Winning with Accountability. I don't remember who it was, and he gave it to me personally with signed and all. A very lovely book, and I think it just opens up our eyes to say, yeah, you know what, I need to be more accountable. Why am I not more accountable? So basically, what am I saying? Compounding, very important. Financial, as well as relationships, and work ethics, called discipline, right? So that discipline of work ethics is very critical. The biggest compounder of good life is discipline. And just think about it. You start doing something good today. Imagine 365 days in a year. Imagine in 10 years you've done it 3650 times, right? Even if you do 50% of the time, you've done huge. Okay, so discipline is critical. You don't need it just now in your mind because you think abhi kar lenge, but wo baad mein kaam aata hai. Okay, it's many of the things I'm telling you are the learnings of life, huh? So these are things that but please use them. Okay, otherwise what's the use of getting that? Okay, the next part.
So sorry, be
Yeah,
interrupting
please.
again.
uh,
Charu and Arya, whatever you want to ask.
yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good
Actually, I
evening.
wanted to ask that should I explore the corporate world after my graduation, or should I complete my master's first and then I should explore like what exactly I have to do?
Yeah.
So,
So great. I think now let's go into the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial conversation. I've given you a background and general gyan. Okay. So, Arya, I'm not the right person to give that answer, right? Because I don't know what all you're doing, what subjects also you're doing, right? Uh, there are two things that I've lived my life on. Number one is education never goes waste. ठीक है, so that's the first mantra of life. आप जब तक पढ़ रहे हो, ठीक है, वो आपको कुछ तो सिखाएगा. You are going to use everything tomorrow or 2% after 10 years. You don't know that, but that 2% that you use after 10 years will be worth the 10-year wait. Remember that. Okay. So always, I'm always for education. I mean, it's a simple point. I have a life of complete continuous education I've done for many years. So I am always a supporter of education, right? Having said that, question is, why do you want to do education, right? And that is what you need to answer. And I'll give you some cues. Is it because you don't know what else to do? कि यार चलो एम कॉम कर लेते हैं, एमएससी कर लेते हैं, because I don't know what to do. Number two, I believe what I want to do, that is a better degree than what I have. Okay. Number three, is that somebody else is doing and I will also do. चलो हम ऐसे करते सारी कर लेते हैं, you know. So you got to ask an honest question, and you don't have to answer it to me. You have to just look at the mirror and say, Arya, why are we doing this? You know, right? And I think that will answer. Now comes the second part, which is a question which each one of us should dabble with, and so do my children, right? My kids are also your age or a little older. Issue is, should you be in the corporate world or should you do something on your own, right? And that's the entrepreneurial conversation we're going to have. Let's have it because we'll run out of time otherwise. Critical piece: when you are working for someone, you are renting your time. Okay, keep that in your mind. You have a driver, the driver comes, rents his time, and you pay the driver. Okay, you are exactly the same as a managing director. Okay, you might go suited booted, you'll get more money, you will travel more, eat better meals, but the truth be told, you're also renting your time. Okay, nobody nobody makes wealth by renting their time. You can make money, you can become rich, because now CEOs and VPs, they get good salaries. But if you want to be wealthy, right, then you have to do something in which you have skin in the game. And what is wealth? You need to know, right? Wealth is money which has acquired assets which are earning while you are sleeping. So it can be a house, though it's a bad one. A commercial property is better, right? Which gives you monthly rent, or you got investments in startups or in large companies, right? You guys are not at that stage in life, but you are at a stage from the other end of the spectrum. You are the ones who can create that for somebody else and yourself, right? So number one, understand the difference between wealth and money, and very important, right? Number two, understand that nobody who earns well and saves makes money, becomes wealthy. I'm challenging a thought, huh? Don't save, invest. Investment is your best friend, right? Start early. We are talking about compounding, right? So whenever you get your first job, take out 200 rupees. Don't have to take out more, but put it in an SIP every month. 200. Let it become 250 next one. You get a Diwali bonus, put 500 more. If you have much better salary, then you put 2,000, put 20,000. It's your call. But please start, right? Please start. I'm giving you tips which nobody will tell you, and you'll realize, shit, these are small things which change your life 10 years later. You have no idea what those 1,000 rupees a month over 10 years compounded is going to be. Whoever's good in math, please do the number and tell me, and then you'll say, "Wow." Okay, so don't save, invest. Now, entrepreneur. What? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Okay, so let's open up that, and then I'll tell you. First, let me tell you what I do. Right. So then I left my corporate world and I started a snack food company. My original vision was it'll be a healthy snack food company. So I started roasting and seasoning almonds and put them in single serve packs, and they're delicious. They still are delicious, but I didn't become successful because I realized that my product was losing its visibility in the outlets because they were so big brands. They just pushed us aside. So that was one good learning. Second, I built a model on B2B, which is business to business. And we started working with SpiceJet, Cafe Coffee Day, United Breweries, a lot of big customers, Google, Intel, all the very nice. Life was beautiful. Then COVID happened. Okay. And then my business became from 99, 100%, 99% went away. So then I also got into I won't call it a depression, but to say, what the hell, yeah, I mean, I'm an older man, and now you're telling me to do it one more time. So then I pivoted and I did it one more time. And now we did very well last year. I created new products, and this year again, we've got some issues, and we'll fix them and go again. So, what does that tell you? Two, three things I'm going to tell you before we open up now. Number one, you got to be resilient. Okay. You're going to be hit in the stomach and the face ever so often, far more often that you like. Okay. Number two, always an externality will hit you most of the time. Okay.
Shruti,
Yeah.
okay.
Usually an externality hits you, right? And we try and say that this was not my fault. Okay. If you're the entrepreneur, everything that happens in the world is your fault. Simple. So don't get into drama of figuring out कि मैं किसकी गलती है. Why is it your fault? It's your business. It's your money. It's your career. It's your benefit and your gain. So if there is something that's negative, please take it also and take it with a smile, right? So that's always your fault. Keep that in your mind, and that's the accountability part, right? Then comes the next part is building trust. Okay, it's a very important word, and we all need to spend a lot of time on doing that. It's good for you all to know that the importance of that word. Okay, trust in the corporate or the entrepreneurial or the business world is about being reliable for delivery of that quality again and again and again. Okay, Coca-Cola is an example, say McDonald's is an example. You don't have to ask कि ये कैसा आ जाएगा. You know exactly what you want, right? And I think these two are very good examples of trust, or even an Apple iPhone, or anything else. I mean, any of the huge brands in the world, right? So how do you start working towards that trust? It's very critical, right? And so there's only one thing you can do at that stage is be consistent and reliable. Consistent and reliable. Consistent and reliable, right? That builds trust. And trust me, trust compounds hugely over time. The trust has a very significant Kager in compounding. You guys understand Kager, right? Compounded annual growth rate. You know what Kager is, right? Compounded annual growth rate. So it compounds exponentially because people say, no, you talk to him now, he's trusted, yeah, he's very good. So ऐसे होता, ठीक है? So now ask specific questions regarding entrepreneurship or whatever else you want to do.
So Charu first and then Deepthi.
Okay.
Very good evening, sir. Actually, there was a discussion about entrepreneurship, and I really wanted to know about it. Actually, I've had studied it a little bit in 12th and 11th class, and we had a case study regarding entrepreneurship, that how Gmail and a lot of services that Google has are a product of entrepreneurship. And we had a group discussion in about this in our class, and there were a few students who thought that entrepreneurship holds back the person who is pursuing it. So, would you agree with that?
Yeah. So entrepreneurship is basically an entrepreneur in a larger, well-resourced setup, right? So you know what? Now it's a good question. Okay, let me just twist it a bit. Which is the biggest entrepreneurial venture of the country, which all of you have witnessed in the last 5 years
Here in India,
in India? Indian company, Indian brand.
so let's say boat has been doing really well.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
so because we run out of time, Geo. Okay, so Geo is a startup. Can you believe it? Geo is a startup, right? And it there was nothing called Geo. It came up 5 years back in front of us. It's the number one in whatever is right. So I'm not here to sell Big Geo's plans. I'm just telling you what a success story. Now to your question, is Geo a entrepreneurial startup or is it an intrapreneurial startup? Is what I'm thinking after you ask that question.
No, sir, I'm asking if entrepreneurship is holding a person back of their
No,
capabilities.
no, never. Entrepreneurship never holds a person back. It actually liberates the person because you don't have your financial risk. Charu, supposing you're working in a large organization and somebody says, Charu, I like your idea. Okay. Supposing your idea is to make anything, doesn't matter, bangles, right? Bangles with something which is so exciting. And Tanishq says, you know what, Charu, this is your project. Just here is the fund, and you can draw on the marketing and the supply chain people in the company, but you do it, right? Come back to me after 3 months and show me what you've done. Let's say it's in some ways that's what it is. So you didn't put your money, but it's your idea. You believed in it. You need to bring it to life, right? But the organization is saying, here are the resources. You need something specific, digital marketing or financial acumen or supply chain. You can draw on the people, right? So I don't think it is restrictive. But again, it depends where you are in your journey. See, remember one thing. When I was doing this, I was young. Okay. I had no money. Obviously, all of us start with no money, na? Let's first take that as a given. That what do we have? We have education, relevant or no, we don't know. We have ideas, which remember everybody has. Okay, you're not the only one who has an idea. The biggest problem is we all have ideas, right? Third is there is a fad कि यार startup करते हैं. So that's also okay. Nothing wrong with that. Why will you do it is the only question. And you've read Simon Sinek. Go and check the why part. You've read the book. If you haven't, please do it. Otherwise, just do the YouTube, right? And you will realize that you will be successful in a startup for few reasons. Number one, are you bringing to the table something which somebody else can't replicate easily? In simple English, right? What is it that you can do which can't be replicated easily? Is something which is authentic and in some ways an extension of you. You believe in it and you can bring it to life because it's your vision. You can see the thing, others can't see it. So very honestly, when I said I'm going to do these almonds, my own family said, but what, we don't understand. I said, okay, no problem. When I got the first set of samples and we sat at home and I made them taste, they all loved it. They said, this is nice, you know. So I could visualize, they couldn't. Okay. One most important part in my eyes to an entrepreneur is you should be able to see what others are not able to see at that time. That's key. Can you visualize? And last point on this piece is don't worry on the how. How happens. Okay. Keep thinking about it. How will happen. It's not that ये ऐसे ही अभी मेरे को solution भी चाहिए. How can you find a solution to a vision so easily? Okay. Yes, Deepti.
Deepti. So we can have like, if you are not busy, we need. If they want to ask questions, we can have another 5-10 minutes.
That's okay with me. Sure.
Okay.
Good evening, sir. So I have two questions for you. First is, like every other college student, they're confused between going abroad or staying in India for masters. So there are two dimensions: to go abroad, meeting new people with different backgrounds, and getting that abroad feeling. And the second one is staying in India and understanding Indian market better for the point of view of starting own startup. So what do you think, which is better? If in
Okay.
future we want to start our own company, so which is
Yeah, so
better, staying in
it's
India
a
or
fair
going?
it's a fair question. So you can kind of help yourself take a decision in many ways. Okay, number one is that what are the subjects you're doing? Okay, if you're doing commerce, right, you can go and do commerce in Boston or in Singapore. uh, it's not going to, is it really value adding to your learning? Okay, so that's the first question you want to ask, is that what is the subject you're going there for, right? Is that country or university actually going to be the cutting edge in your CV, right? That's one part. Second, what is your interest for a entrepreneurial product or journey? I'm into food business, right? uh, I would imagine if all of you are from the commerce background, you guys are not techies. Okay, so we are not probably going to play the techie game of of coding and coming up with some very fancy AI stuff, or you are, I don't know, right? So if you're going to be doing that, then it's good to be in Silicon Valley because that's where the network of that is. Okay, so it's not a generic thing. What might be relevant for you might not be for Charu or for Arya or for Vineet. It is about what subject are you pursuing, which university are you going to do that, and why will that university help you? Is it just people? So just because somebody is of a different skin color and speaks a different language is not more knowledgeable than you, right? And if a person is from Spain and somebody is from Bermuda, I don't think they're going to help you in your venture in India. Okay, so I'm just so uh, so that's the other one. But the other part is, how much does it cost? Okay, unless you're getting scholarship and you're saying chalo ek saal yaar America hi hoke aate hain, that's a good idea. I don't have a problem if you are paid for and you're going, in your mind you're going for a kind of a holiday and have fun. Okay, but if you're seriously talking about and saying, hey dad, give me some money, I want to go for 1 year for MCOM in America, uh, I won't give it to my kid. Okay, because I don't think it's relevant. Lastly, where is the world going? Okay, so just look at the global economic story where we are. Okay, uh, US and Europe have dominated the world over the last 50 years. Okay, and they are both in shambles. With the debt of the US, even though their economy might be growing and they're all talking about doing fine, they are going to have a very tough time paying their debt. Europe, you can see country by country is falling down, right? China has done well and it's still strong enough. Naturally, all the Western media keeps talking against it, but it's not down. It will stand its. India is expected to play a bigger role, right? With 1.4 billion people, right? India has good bilateral duty terms and relationships with Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Okay, whether it's Saudi, it's Iran, it's Afghanistan, all these countries, UAE, are good relations with India. Similarly, in Asia, Southeast Asia, starting from actually, or even Japan, we have great relationships, right? What am I trying to tell you? That the future, the pivot has moved from Europe and US, right? It has come down towards this part of the world. Okay. So you need to ask yourself, whatever you want to do, money is going to be made in this part of the world. So you want to go abroad, go abroad. Then go to UAE, go to Malaysia.
Why UAE?
because UAE is one, on one hand, it's global in many ways, but more important, it is the future of where the money is going and development is coming, and it has great ties with India. And the people that you will network with are more going to be Asian oriented rather than European or American oriented. No other reason.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Sir, is it necessary to pursue international business as a subject to like pursue international business?
So it's good to know, right? But again, as I said, if is it, does it interest you, and do you believe you want to do a global business, then 100% do, because you will need to have specific knowledge of how global business and international business is done, right? But if you believe and say, okay, wait, I've got 1.5 billion people in India, and I want to do something for India because that's where the future is, then international business investment of your time may not be as relevant, you know. So, but listen, I think, like I said earlier, and I'm going to keep learning is critical. Do what, but be sincere in doing it rather than passing time. See, we are all at a stage where we say, अब मैं यार एक साल और पढ़ लेती हूँ because I can't take a decision मैंने क्या करना है, you know. So are you honestly, and I mean, I'm going to be straightforward, are you just pushing the difficult decision to later? Are you thinking that time will give you the answer? Answer is no. Time doesn't give you this answer. You have to take the call. So why are you postponing it? Okay. But if you really believe you want to do it, please do it. I am always for education, always for learning. Last point around learning. Why don't you guys, why do you have to do learning? If I could do CA and BCom together, why can't you do digital online learning and do some startup also? Na?
They are
Huh?
doing, actually, we have.
बिल्कुल करो, करो। वो देखो नारायण मूर्ति ने बोला था ना, वर्क वर्क 70 hours a week. Okay, I personally am not his fan, but, and I'm not talking about 70, because I told you I don't think we are not scooter drivers that we have to work 70. Having said that, work hard, right? I mean, that's the whole ethos of work has to be that the discipline needs to be there, you know. And don't count hours. Please go towards the objective rather than how many hours you're doing. You're not trying to kind of satisfy somebody by कि भी मैंने भी 10 घंटे आज काम कर लिए. That's not relevant, yeah, in today's life. But are you going towards your bottom? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
Dipti.
So, just like you mentioned that first to identify the market, like you choose food market as starting your own company. So, how to identify that market, like what to work upon.
Correct. So what we all have to do is see what is the specific knowledge. You know, there's something, a term called specific knowledge, right? What is the specific knowledge that Deepti has as of today, which Arya doesn't have, right? Or Sakshi doesn't have? Question. You don't need the answer just now, right? It is, this takes time to realize. You, so the point is you have to try 2 3 things to realize that this, I can, as I said, you should be able to, you don't force an entrepreneurial idea onto you. The entrepreneurial idea has to come from within you. Are you with me? I have a lot of people asking me, what should I do? Arey, I don't know you, you know. I can't tell you what you should do, except keep trying. Just keep trying. You'll get the idea. Why am I in food? Because I spent 10 years running a food company. Then I spent 6 years running a spirits business, which was FMCG. So I only know food and beverage. Yeah. You know, I don't know anything else. So it was natural for me to do it. So what you do, and I think it's important for all of you, if you want to start by working in a company, work for a year or two, right? See what you like. But I'll say one thing, whatever organization you select, try and see if it's a good brand, right? Because the, you'll be able to relate to the brand, and that knowledge of brand, the values of the brand, the investments on the brand, the pride of the brand, all that gets imbibed into you, Okay, so that's what I can propose. Second part is, should you do a startup just now, or should you do it after some time? There is no rule. It is when you're ready. It is when
So,
you're ready.
we need
I
one more.
started after 50,
Yeah.
just so that you know.
Okay. Okay, good. So one more thing, like we have rural marketing as a like subject.
Uh,
So you were saying you like dealt with the marginal farmers, and so what do you think, like how the rural India, like 65% of the population is there. So what I feel, and I keep telling the students also, they should look at the rural market rather than looking at the urban market. But I don't know, what is your take on this?
you're so correct. All the conversations I have with people who are uh, leaders of FMCG brands, whether it's Britannia or ITC, these the CEOs are my friends. They keep telling me that the tier two, tier three, tier four are booming. Right? There are startups that companies who are doing in supply chain and logistics. They are actually going straight to tier two and three rather than even one now. Right? Because that's where growth is. So very similar to what I just said. US, Europe is moving to another geography. Now you look at within India, we are moving to another geography of next level of high growth. Are you can you see, you can you visualize what I'm trying to say? So what was attractive 5 years back is no longer as attractive today because the trend is something else. I think that's the way to look at it, in my opinion. What is trend? What is going to be more lucrative in the coming years for people? That is what you need to see, not what the past is. You've heard of Jack Welch.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jack Welch had a very simple liner, and I love quoting that. And he used to say, what? He says, "Today's the fish, today's news wraps the fish tomorrow." Okay. So it just tells you that what succeeded today is not going to be succeeding tomorrow. Your newspaper in which the news came will wrap the fish tomorrow. So the point is very simple. It is, if you look at a longer phase of time, look at the last 2 3 decades, which you can relate to as individuals yourself, you'll see how the world has changed, right? So the future is going to be changing. So Preeti, to your point, tier two, tier three will be big. Agri has its challenges, right? I mean, that's why I didn't get into that space personally, despite having intricate knowledge. It has a lot of challenges, and but marketing products in agri is a very good idea. In rural, and sourcing niche ideas for entrepreneurs is a very good idea. Remember, ladies, India has MSME concept, Government of India. We have extra privileges for lady founders. You should know that, right? So not only can you get funding, you can also get many more other privileges and benefits, right? And if you're working with rural women to make something which is of use, right, which could be a potential idea, you get more benefits. So there's a lot of research and reading to be done, right? In what is the area which I could be interested in, and guess what? Dabble now. Worst come worst, what happens? You did see, if you were to go to US for 1 year, right, and come back after MSc or MCom, instead spend 1 year in a startup, you will be far richer in knowledge and learning than in America. Okay, so don't waste your time. Do it here. And I think if I haven't mentioned, you guys need to read. Okay, you guys need to read. Read, 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 and read. I say that to people, they just don't understand the power of reading. You have no idea what the power of reading is. You know, I used to read, I've lost my habit, I'm trying to pick it back again. I mean, I'll tell you something. People are reading maybe 10 books a month, man. You know, They are silly, but it is also silly not to read one book in a year. No? You know what I'm saying? So don't know. We don't have to be an extreme, but please read. There are such lovely books that I'll share with Preeti ma'am. Right? I have 6 7 books that I typically I actually keep them on my bedside and I read them again and again. Right? They're very important for people like you. You'll This last part that I've said is going to change your thing. Discipline to read. Whatever. You know what? Start with 10 minutes a day. I'm not here to tell you have to read 6 hours a day. 10 minutes, yeah, it's okay. 10 minutes. Make it 15 tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
And read whatever you want. Don't read business. Read whatever you want, but please read. Please read, read, read. You will be surprised that over 2 years, you will evolve your reading into more relevant reading. Just imagine you're 22, when you're 60 years old, how many books you would have read. Can you imagine the knowledge you are going to gain? You don't know, don't you? So nobody kind of pushed these things down my throat when I was young. So just do these simple things. Power of compounding. This is learning, is compounding.
Yeah,
Don't waste your
Rishita.
time.
Yeah, Rishita and Deepti, what do you want to ask? Do it quickly because we want to wind up the session now.
Yes, please. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so sir, I have just one more last question that been bugging me lately from the past 3 to 4 months, and that is which department to choose. Like, for suppose I take a year to work in a corporate sector, which department to choose? It's marketing, HR, business, so many department. I have worked for HR for a while, but it's not very interesting.
Mm.
So how to choose a department that's fun, and I get to learn a lot about startup as well.
So now, question: if you're going to join a large company and then learn about startup, that won't happen. Okay, you'll only learn about how that function is in that company. I mean, I'm just, if I've understood your question right. So which function depends on what your subjects are and your interest is. Okay, now unfortunately for you all, and I'm saying unfortunately, in mere time pe, we could say, call up my friend and say, or somebody's friend and say, कि भाई विनीत आ रहा है उसको देख लेना. वो those days are gone. Now everything is automated. Your CV is not seen by a human till it's been rejected 200 times because they've got some 10 keywords which they want to pick up and all that nonsense, right? So life is becoming more difficult for you. Keep that in your mind in some ways, right? And to get a job is going to get more difficult. Let's be clear. India has a problem of unemployment, right? But there will be an issue on getting roles that you would like to do, and that's one more reason why you should explore entrepreneurship, right? Dekho, as I said, I'm just going to repeat it because it's very important. If you rent your time, you will never make it big, right? Simple. If you rent your time, you will never make it big. You see last 10 years how your staff has moved. You see your other people how they have moved in 10 years in a company. They'll earn, but expenses keep going up. We move from a second hand two-wheeler to a two-wheeler to a second hand car to a car. Expenses are going, the money saving is less. So keep the investment thing clear in your mind and compounding. Simple. Otherwise, but if you want to make it big, then you need to have a vision. And don't worry about the how. I'm telling you how life gives you back. Only if you do the 3 4 things I've told you: read and keep trying and be authentic to yourself. Whatever you want to create has to be, you should be able to actually tell others, I'm doing this and I dare you can't do better because ye mere dil se aa raha hai. Simple as that. And that is the only way you'll win. And that is why all of us will be unique. So let's be clear. We know the business plan, the business model of Apple, don't we? Right? We know the business plan of Geo or of, and you name any Amul, you name any company, we know what they do. We can't do it. Why can't we replicate? Right? Second, if somebody is already doing it, don't try and copy. Okay? You can get inspiration, but don't try and copy. You can pick up best practices, but don't say, I will also do it. Oh, come on. They have already got skills and resources already doing the same. So it needs to be unique. It needs to be you. You keep in your startup, you are the most important thing, no? So where is the you in it?
So one last question now, Rishita.
Okay.
Yeah, she has written on the chat in the chat box. Like, is it important to know what you want to do early in life if you're not very clear what to do? So she's
Not at all. Not at all. Listen, I mean, if you were to ask me 35 years back, will I be sitting and talking to people, telling them what to do? Come on, yeah, I didn't know, no. I was busy riding a bike and having fun, like you guys are also. So come on, you're not supposed to know everything. How can anybody know anything? You think Modi knew he'll become Prime Minister of India? You know, he didn't know. So you're not supposed to know what you're going to be doing. You just need to know two, three things. What is it? Which space would you like to be involved in? Just a space. Is it what? Clothing? Is it infrastructure? Is it cars? Is it, whatever? Food? Is it footwear? Just a space, technology, or you have to let time pass by. You have to try a few things before you know it, you enjoy it or you don't. Please, you're not. Tell me one thing. How can you? It's like asking a 5-year-old. Acha, tell me, would you want to be a footballer or a cricketer when you go? I mean, come on, give me a break. He sees Virat Kohli, he wants to play football. I mean, cricket. He sees Ronaldo, he wants to play football. He doesn't know the difference. Yeah, you are at the same stage. He's got 15 years of sport to do, and you've got 15 years of real hard work to do. So don't be harsh on yourself trying to believe you know answers. You're not supposed to know the answers. You're only supposed to know your interests. You're only supposed to know your interest. Question is, what are you doing about your interest? So I'm not absolving yourself of being accountable for your future. So I'm not trying to say relax, कुछ नहीं करना है बहुत करना है, but specifically क्या करना है वो अपने आप बाद में आएगा, but काम करना है. And remember, the most difficult step is the first step. Most difficult step is the first step. So you'll be shocked if I tell you, okay, just by saying, okay, I'm going to do a startup, and I'm going to let's pick up the same example. Let's make shirts for a minute. Okay, let's make performance shirts for sport as a heading. That's what I will do. Okay, all of us will do, and then you figure out what all you need to do a startup, and you'll be surprised how much work that is. Right? 1 year later, you'll make shirts and they don't sell. That's okay. But imagine the learning you did in this startup learning. Okay. Then after 1 year, you say, shit, yaar, kabhi se to bikini. Oh, sorry. Huh? Kabhi se to bikini. Then you say, okay, but you know what? We saw this. Let's try this. And you pivot. You guys called pivot. Okay, we used to use the word restart. You use pivot. So we pivot, right? But you've already learned one thing, which is to create your startup, right? But you didn't get the product and the product market mix right. You start the second one. You'll improve on 30% more, and within 7 years, you are the boss. Before 30, you are running a startup which is good. Now people will be calling you and saying, please come on, this and come on that, kya bolte hain usko? uh, Shark Tank, because you're 30 under 30. Uh, I mean, why do you believe you can't be one of them, yeah? Why? I've always believed I am doing my business has again gone down, but I believe it will be very successful. People ask me how. I said, I'll figure it out, yeah. So what do you mean how? I honestly don't have the answer. I honestly don't have the answer, but I'll do it. So resilience, positive energy, belief, right? And I know what I'm doing is an extension of me. You can't, you, I can tell you what you're doing. You can't copy me, right? You can copy the product, but you can't copy the whole thing, right? And that's what the key is. Everybody makes smartphones. Why is Apple what Apple is? Why is a BMW what a BMW is? You know, everybody makes cars and phones. So, guys, start. And I would say honestly, if you want to study, please study. It's the best investment of your time. But if you are studying for passing time and saying, "यार मेरे को नहीं पता क्या करना, बड़ा मुश्किल है ये," which is normal, okay, then don't be a fool and waste one more year. So the only thing you want to do is be honest to yourself, nobody else.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So let's wind up and thank you for like sparing your time based from your busy schedule. So Alpana, now handing over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the Commerce Department, I, Alpna, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of for making this session a great success. Heartfelt thanks to our dearest principal, ma'am, Dr. Sadhna Sharma, for providing us this opportunity so that we could have this beautiful session, our enriching session. A special thanks to our dear Preeti ma'am for coordinating this event, and she is there for from very beginning till end. Thank you very much, ma'am. And a special thanks to you, sir. We actually learnt a lot. I hope we all will remember to be more responsible, to be more accountable. We would like to use these your success mantras in our life. I would hope that our student will read more and more. Thank you very much, sir. At the last, I would like to thank my Commerce Association, all the students who joined this session. I hope you had a great learning experience like me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Vinay.
Bye,
Thank
everyone. All the best for your lives.
Thank you, sir. All the very best to you.
Bye. Bye.
you.
I hope that the